What's going on, everybody? It's Lucky Finn Gaming here, and welcome back to Ark Survival Evolved, where today I'm making a reply to Matt's video, and we'll be doing an in-depth discussion of medieval plate armor versus bullets. So, without further ado, let's get into this. What do you think about this conundrum button? Hey, you're a raptor, you don't care. Alright guys, so today I wanted to make a quick video on this topic. Now, surprisingly, this is not the first time for DemolitionRanch, Matt from DemolitionRanch. He has apparently, in his latest video, he has bought another piece of garbage prop armor and shot bullets at it. Now I love watching him shoot bullets at things. But he's trying to compare that medieval armor and say, well, medieval armor could stand up to these bullets. Well, today I wanted to do an in-depth discussion on that, and you're looking weird, button. Now you look normal. Anyway, I wanted to do an in-depth discussion about this topic and explain, Shad has made a reply video to this. I believe Scalagrim even made a reply video to this. But today I wanted to make a reply video about this because I feel like things have been wrong on both sides. Now, DemolitionRanch doesn't really go too deep into the science of it and everything, while Scalagrim and Shad definitely go deep into the topic. But today I wanted to go deep into the topic. I want to talk about bullets. I want to talk about how bullets work, and it depends purely on the kind of rifle they're fired from, what kind of bullet it is, from what area it's from, so on and so forth. And so this is going to be a fairly short video. I just wanted to make a reply video of my own, because again, this is not the first time this has happened. So what I have in my inventory here is I have 4 guns from Ark, and I know these aren't going to be 100% accurate or whatever, but they're a good generality. We have a long one-shot rifle that if we fire it, as you can see, we have to reload it. This is honestly kind of a very this weapon might be very depictive of the Western or even World War I period. Next we have, well, I mean, it's not really next on my hotbar, but next we have this. It's just a revolver. You get 6 shots out of it. Very reminiscent of the early Western period, and we will talk about why this one is from the early Western period. And then we have 2 weapons that are definitely modern. We have the assault rifle, which just, fires fully automatic, not a whole lot to delve into there. And then the advanced sniper rifle, one shot, scope in, very, very simple. And then of course we have a set of armor here. Now I know this isn't really like a great set of armor. There's a few things I could pick apart on it, like as you can see, the breastplate. It's just in a weird spot. I don't know. I was analyzing this armor one time and I was like, why is this like this? So now I can tell you guys some of the problems I have with this armor real quick, and then we'll talk about bullets versus armor. I don't understand why the neck armor, I believe it's called the Gorstege, is beneath the plate armor. I don't understand that. That is so weird. Because if somebody came down with like a spike or something, it would fit like right in there. You wouldn't want to do that with armor. But that aside, I think this is relatively decently depictive of armor in the general sense. We have a decent helmet on, just relatively decent armor. And really the thing we're going to be discussing here is just really this midsection here, particularly in the breastplate. So that being said, what we also have in our inventory here is multiple kinds of bullets, and I unfortunately forgot to put the cryopod for button and everything on button. So we're going to go ahead and drop the pike and the extra dummies in there. So what we have here is some bullets. So we have the bullets here. This is the long neck ammo. This is from when bullets well, actually, let's start with the round ball. So that goes with this one, the early Western period gun. Now, the thing about this one here is despite the fact that Ark doesn't really show it, the pistol here is actually black powder. Now, what that means is that even though Ark doesn't show it in real life, what you would do is you would have to you'd have to pour powder into each individual hole and then put the ball in behind it and stuff it in there. Another thing that you might equate it to is a black powder pistol, like a flintlock. That's kind of what this is supposed to be, but this is at the later end of the period of when flintlocks had already kind of been done away with, and we had figured out how to make pistols more efficiently. So instead of having to fire, load, fire, load, fire, load, we could fire 6 shots, but it would still take a while to load all 6 shots. So it was a little more advanced than a flintlock pistol, but not as advanced as it would later get. Next, we have the long neck rifle bullet. It's called simple rifle ammo in the game, and this is very depictive of as weapons started to become more advanced, and we came up with this thing called the cartridge, which is of course a bullet, but it's got the cartridge behind it. Now, basically what this is instead of having to load the powder then the bullet, it all comes in one nice little package, or called a cartridge. This would become more prominent throughout the Western period. After the colonial period had ended and we started to push forward, that's when this would become more prominent. Going into World War One, rifles such as these would be more prominent, only instead of firing like this and then immediately having to reload. Some rifles still did this, such as the famous Martini Henry, or my personal favorite, the Smith and Wesson Sharps. Dang it, I lost my place. So these would be more prominent in World War One, but even more prominent would be bolt-action rifles. But they all work relatively the same. They all fire a cartridge. Then, of course, we come to the modern rifles, that being the assault rifle and the sniper rifle here. So let's talk about the armor and what it could most likely defend against. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the equipment to show you guys exactly like Demolition Ranch did, but I'll just have to talk about it from a science perspective and a history perspective and let you guys draw your own conclusions. And I'll just use the game to, visualize it. So armor was actually pretty effective against certain kinds of bullets. Now, there is argument as to what kind of bullets, how far it would defend against, but realistically speaking, despite the fact there are a ton of fans, in fact, I've been in many flame wars with people talking about how effective bullets are against armor. And there are some that say that armor could defend against all kinds of bullets. And then there are those who say that armor can't defend against any kind of bullets. Well, the reality is it's neither. Armor can defend against some bullets to an extent, and obviously it would completely fail against other bullets. So let's talk about the kinds of bullets that it would be able to defend against. Obviously, the round shot. The round shot has relatively no penetrating power. And if I didn't get a clean shot, if I was, say, at a distance, even, let's say, probably, I would assume this here is probably about 50 feet away. If I was to scope in this little person here and shoot him, it would probably just ping off the armor at this distance with this pistol. Now, if I had, say, a musket, and let's assume this just had round shot and I scoped it in, assuming I could even hit the target with a musket at this distance, because most black powder rifles and muskets didn't have any barreling. It was just a straight bore. Assuming I could even hit it at this distance, it might do some damage. This purely depends on the kind of armor, though. Now, if it's traditional knight armor, which is what this kind of looks like, it might have some penetration. We might get some penetration out of a musket. At that distance, probably not out of a flintlock pistol or a black powder pistol. Probably not out of a pistol, period, unless it was like really modern, of which I know there's one in the game, but that's kind of beside the point. If It could probably penetrate now regular knight armor. Now, if you get into the colonial period, deeper into the colonial period, and you start seeing like the Hussar armor that the Russians used, it's very unlikely. The only problem with it would be is that it would be very thick, very heavy. I've had arguments with people who have said that, well, guns didn't put an end to armor. Well, yes, actually they did. I hate to break this to everybody, but yes, guns put an end to armor. Armor that was thick enough to prevent bullets getting through was too thick. It was too thick for a human to use. Therefore, they could only wear it in the chest section. You wouldn't have a full set of armor like this because it would be too heavy. But Hussars would use it. The reason being, they were riding on the back of a horse, so they didn't have the limitations of weight that any normal soldier. But a normal soldier on foot like this definitely would not be using this kind of armor. So we're assuming this would be Knight's armor. Now, actually, Knight's armor still, yes, against a pistol round, yes, absolutely would most likely defend against a pistol. Against a rifle, which has more speed coming out of it because you can naturally load more ammo. Possibly. It kind of depends on how solid the hit is, what the distance is, so on and so forth. But it could, yes. Let's just wrap it up and say yes, it could stop it. Again, there's a chance that it would penetrate anyway, but it could stop it. But now on to what this rifle really is. This is about where armor stops working entirely. It really doesn't matter how thick the armor is. Any armor thick enough to prevent a pointed round like this, a human would not be able to wear. Or at the very least, they would be able to wear it, but it would be so heavy. The person would be very hard pressed to carry themselves. It would be putting such a strain on the person that it really wouldn't be worth it anymore. We know even today, I have watched videos even today of steel tread plate. The most it's able to stop is a 22 caliber. Any bigger than that, and it just blows right through. And that's modern steel. That's like modern steel tread plate. Armor just is not, medieval armor just could not keep up. It wouldn't be until years later when we started getting into things like flak jackets and Kevlar, which are just made of like very tightly woven fibers, that we could actually stop. But the whole point of guns was actually, I've heard Shad talk about how, well, armor was built to defend against guns. And that is an absolutely correct assessment. The problem is, guns were built to go against armor. So every time they made improvements to armor, people made improvements to guns. And that is the one side of things that nobody ever really thinks about, nobody ever really considers, is the fact that guns were built to penetrate armor better. And even today, the armor versus arms race continues. We make bullets which are made to go through Kevlar. And now we've had to create new armor with titanium plate, which is more resistant to bullets. And in some cases is even more resistant to bullets that are armor piercing. But that's just the point. We have armor piercing round. But we can get into that here in just a moment. Really, it comes down to the fact that we started pointing the bullets. Now you can see a pretty clear difference here. Out of all these bullets, one of these is not the same, and that's the round shot. In the late medieval period into the colonial period, every bullet looked like this. It was round, and it was all round shot. Afterwards, we started making things with a pointed shot, with the specific intent of going through things like bullets, shields, whatever we needed to go through, the bullet could do it. And of course, as things got better, we started building it up better so that it would go straight through armor. Metal would not be able to stop it because that's what the bullet was intended to do. It was made to go through armors. And eventually, because of this, the armor, even before we started really pointing the bullets, armor had already begun to fall out of favor just because bullets were so effective at penetrating armor. And for a while, the armor race actually kind of stopped until we got to World War I when we started using large machines, which could actually support the weight of the metal that would need to be used to stop the bullets. And that's just the point. It takes a ridiculous amount of armor to stop a decent bullet, especially out of modern firearms like these. Even tanks today can honestly be penetrated by large sniper rifle rounds, like the 50 BMG. Depending on the tank armor, it could actually be penetrated by a 50 BMG. So that being said, it's still, Matt goes out there and he just starts shooting armor. And he's like, oh yeah, look at that, armor wouldn't stand a chance. Would armor stand a chance against modern weapons? Probably not anything. Probably not anything more than like a 9mm. Even some of the thicker armors at a distance, shot out of a 9mm pistol from about, I'd probably say about, yay. This is about the average for a range. Fired out of here, 9mm, probably is not going through the, probably not going to go through the armor. It might stick in the armor, but it's not going to go through it. If you get any bigger, if you get to 45 ACP, yeah, no, it's probably going straight through, with very little resistance. In fact, it may even be worse because it may take some of the armor with it and just send shrapnel straight into your body, and then you're just gonna straight up be dead because you're gonna have a lot of metal just sticking inside of your body. So honestly, I think there's two sides to the story. Like I said, this is an argument that's been played out a lot of times, and so I wanted to make my opinion on it, and my opinion is what I feel to be the most logical, that yes, armor did its best. Armor smiths back in the medieval period and even going into the colonial period did their best to make armor keep up with the arms race. But unfortunately, firearms you can make a firearm more, you can make bullets, I should say, more effective more quickly, and you can upgrade them faster than they could upgrade armor. By the time of the end of the medieval period, honestly, armor had basically gotten as good as it could get, until we came up with things like flak jackets and ballistic armor, like Kevlar. It just couldn't keep up anymore. So all that being said, guys, I hope my explanation is satisfying to you all. Like I said, this was just going to be a short video. I just wanted to make this quick reply video to Matt, and I just want to get on top of it. So all that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in another time and dimension, whenever or wherever that may be. Till then, peace out.